Hello and welcome dear students to a series of grammar in use. In this video we are going to explore the past perfect tense. We will also see the difference between simple past and past perfect tense and when to use both or either of them. You are requested to grab a pen and a notepad to take down the pointers and construct sentences as we proceed. Let's dive in. Let us first understand what are past perfect tenses. In English, we use the past perfect tense or the past simple past tense to talk about two or more events that happened at different times in the past. So please make a note that we are considering the simple past and the past perfect tense. And both the events have taken place in the past zone. Remember that you are always present in the present zone. And when you talk about these tenses, which are in the past tense, you may place them on the timeline as the actions have taken place. Now let us see the first pointer. Make a note of that. The past perfect tense. Now past perfect tense is that when talking about two events that those have happened at different times in the past. The past simple describes the event that is closest on the timeline when speaking, and the past perfect describes the event further back in the past. Now, in order to understand, assume that you are here, standing here. If you were to walk back on the timeline, you will see the action which is nearest on the timeline that will be expressed in simple past. Whereas when you go further down and you will see a previous action, you will express it in past perfect tense. Let us see the sentence that we have before us. The train had left before we arrived at the station. Now, when you are in the present zone and you are looking at it on the time zone, you will see that when you walk back, your arriving on the station is the nearest action. So you will express it in the simple past. That is just by adding ed to the verb. And when you go back on the timeline, you will see that the train had already left. So you will use had over there, which shows that the action was already completed in the past. This had is past, left is action completed. So the action completed in the past. So when two actions are used on a timeline, the nearest to you is in simple past. The action away from you on the timeline is in past perfect. The next example is Pablo had gone to work when I knocked on his door. Now you are in the present zone. When you're walking back on the timeline, you will see the knocking first. So that will be simple past. And then you walk further down on the timeline, you will see that Pablo had gone. So Pablo had gone to work. Had gone is past and past perfect tense, and knocked is simple past tense. So remember that the action that is nearest on the timeline is always expressed in simple past, and the action that is far away on the timeline is expressed in past perfect tense. When there are two actions in the past, this is the construction. Nearest on the timeline is simple past, far away on the timeline is past perfect. Let us see the structure, how it is constructed. Now, use had followed by past participle to form past perfect. Had is to show past tense, and then when you use the actual verb in the past tense, that will show past perfect tense. Let us see the structure that we have. We have the subject or the noun pronoun that we are also going to use. Then we have had. This is compulsory in past perfect tense. Past participle, we use the past tense over here. The present is leave. The past tense is left. And then we have the rest of the sentence. The sentence before us is the train had left before we arrived at the station. Had does not change with the subject. If I were to say change with I, we, he, she, it, they, me, Mary, John, etc., had will not change. The past participle expresses the action in the past. This is in the past tense definitely. Only then the tense is past perfect tense. Now let us see the certain construction that we have just seen, the two tenses, simple past and past perfect tense. He had cooked dinner before Sally got back from home. Now, Sally got back from home is simple past, and had cooked is past perfect, past far away on the timeline. She had already read the play by the time she went to see. So she went to see is simple past that will be placed here on the timeline, and she had already read about the play will be far away on the timeline. Remember that you are here in the beginning of the timeline in the present zone. Now, simple past and past perfect. Now, the sentence construction, can you place simple past in the beginning part of the sentence? Yes, you may, but still the meaning applied is that this action took place nearest in time and this action took place far away in time. Let us see one such example. The traffic was bad because a car had broken down on the road. Now, simple past is that the traffic was bad, and the faraway action is that a car had broken down on the road. You can see in the sentence construction, the action that took place nearest in time was placed first in the sentence. Even if the simple past action is first in the sentence, it still happened later. That means the meaning doesn't change at all. When we arrived at the stadium, the game had already started. Now, when we arrive, when you go back on the timeline, the arriving part comes first. So that is simple past, arrived. The game had already started. Had started is past perfect. So that is how the sentence is constructed. The action that is nearest to you on the timeline is in simple past. The action that is far away to you on the timeline in the past is past perfect. Let us see one such example where we see the difference between present perfect and past perfect. The top part is regarding present perfect. The present perfect is used to talk about an action that took place in the recent past and is still relevant to the present moment. That means some impact of the event is there in the present zone. For example, 1 hour ago or some time back, maybe half an hour ago, the person had passed a driving test. Okay, so in the present zone, the person is excited, mentioning that I have just passed my driving test. Have passed is present perfect. So present perfect tense is used because it has some impact on the present moment. Now we are considering past perfect tense, and let us see when is that past perfect tense used. The past perfect is used to talk about an action that took place before another moment in the past. That means in the past, two actions have taken place. Now, in the past, we see that when we go back on the timeline, we see the first action. The first action that ended was I was excited. So, simple past tense. And when we go further down, we see that I had just passed my driving test. So that is simple past perfect tense. simple past and past perfect tense. I hope that when you construct the sentence, you'll remember that past perfect is used when the action got over in the distant past, and after that another action has taken place, which is in the past perfect. Simple past is nearest on the time zone. Past perfect is far away on the timeline, and when mentioning the nearest action on the timeline will be expressed in simple past, and the distant action will be expressed in past perfect tense. I hope that you will remember that when you are using these tenses in writing, maybe in short writing, paragraph writing, or writing a story, you should be mindful of when to use simple past and when to use past perfect tense. I hope that it is understood. With this, we have come to the end of today's lesson. Thank you very much for your kind attention. If you like the video, click on like, share and subscribe. Thank you very much for your kind attention.